Hello, class, and welcome to week 4, public and private education. This is my week 4 multimedia presentation. So with this presentation, I'm going to talk about the similarities between public and private education, the differences, and does it really matter between the two. So first, I'm going to talk about the similarities between public and private education. So both educations, the schools, they are going to have qualified teachers. And this is a lot like Weber's bureaucracy, where it talks about the merit system and how they don't just choose anyone and everyone. They actually choose the most qualified person for the position. And this is important because it's going to help run a successful school. And if you are federally funded, you have to have higher test scores. Otherwise, typically they could pull your funding. Or if you're a private school and you have low test scores, you're less likely to have a higher turnout when it comes to students, or there's going to be parents that are not going to want to pay higher tuition because the test scores are lower. In addition, there's also a chain of command, which I believe this is more of Fales theory, where there's the school board, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, and then each school with both of public or private, they're going to have a principal, an assistant principal, and then you'll have your teachers, both of which you'll find in public school or private schools. When it comes to differences between the two, public school is free education that is open to anybody, and you are, no matter who you are, what race, nationality, you are entitled to get free education within public school. Private school is a little bit more selected. They can choose who they want to attend their school because it's not just open to anybody. Typically, there is a tuition, and with the tuition is how they actually pay the teachers and the faculty, where public education pays their teachers and faculty through federal funding. So because federal funding funds public school, they are limited to what they're able to teach. So you're definitely not allowed to have religion in public schools. And you have to follow a strict curriculum, and you have to, basically what they tell you to teach is going to be what you have to teach, and you have to teach it in certain ways. For example, Common Core. I know I personally do not like Common Core. I have a child that really struggles with Common Core, but unfortunately, because states and federal are saying you need to do Common Core, that is what they teach. Where private school, they can actually incorporate religion. So it doesn't matter. You can go to a Christian school, you can go to a school that teaches Islam, things like that. And I know when my daughters, they did go to a Christian school, they still taught the old way of math, where when I transitioned them into public school, and because they were already in my oldest was in 4th grade, she had a really hard time grasping onto the Common Core because she didn't get the foundation that they start in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. So that's why that's the main difference between public and private. Is public, you have to follow a strict curriculum. Private school, they can incorporate different things, such as religion, not the same curriculums, things like that. Does it really matter? This one's hard to say. I personally, if I had the funds to send my kids back to private school, I loved the private school environment. I thought the teachers were they really cared about the children. It wasn't just like they live paycheck, they do this job for the paycheck. I don't know if it was the school my children went to, but I loved how they loved my children. They were able to hug them. They were able to really take the time and teach them. And, it was also based around a Christian curriculum. So they were learning the foundation of Christianity, things like that. I do believe there's also some cons where if your child struggled with something, like my daughter needed speech, unfortunately, the private school did not offer that. But where public school, it's something that's free. You can just send your, if they need a speech help, they offer that in public school. Unfortunately, I could not keep my kids in private school because the tuition was too high and I was not able to afford it. Um, I do believe a lot of times scholarships going off into college, the private schools do typically get the scholarships, the more of them, because if you don't do well in private school, they can kick you out. So they're more inclined to have a higher graduation, higher test scores, things like that. Where in public school, they can kick you out, but they really won't because anybody can get it unless you're doing something to where you're causing violence or disrupting the school. But if you're just failing classes, then you just keep failing and you move on. Um, Plus, private school, they can actually specialize. Like, I love that the foundation of Christianity with my children. So I would be more inclined, if I couldn't afford it, to send my kids to a private school rather than a public school where it's very black and white and it is what it is. And here is my final slide, just the references I used to gather my information. I will be going more in depth with Max Weber bureaucracy and also the 14 principles of Henry Fayol. Thank you so much.